In the past, you've spoken out about your feelings with regards to downloaded music.
Yeah.
Do you think the internet is a help or a hindrance to small bands who are trying to get their voices heard in the music industry?
Well, I'm of two sides on it, I guess. I think one, it's allowed smaller bands to get more attention, you know. And I'm all for that, you know. I'm all for the fact that, you know, there should always be that equal ground. There should always be that common ground where people get a chance, you know. I wish that we would have had the internet when we were first starting out, you know. And obviously, and one of the great things about it was, you know, Slipknot. When I first joined Slipknot, it was the first band that I'd ever known that had its own website. And this was back in '96, '97. So they were really ahead of the curve, you know, and when these things were just starting to kind of build up, you know, and people were just starting to use the technology. The other side of that is that so many people are so quick now to download music because they don't want to take the risk, you know. I mean, whether it's a financial risk or a matter of taste, people don't want to risk spending money on an album that may suck, you know, and I can't fault them for that, you know. My opinion has always been, no matter how you get the music, go get the music, you know. I mean, it obviously hinders what I do for a living, but there are ways to make money, you know. If money is your thing, then you probably shouldn't be in this business, you know. But at the same time, I understand, because who wants to spend $20 on an album that is just a bunch of crap, you know? And I think a lot of that is because of how technology has evened the playing field, and people who are not exceptional can sound exceptional, and yet there's really no content, there's no soul, there's no heart. And so I will never fault one person for downloading an album, or downloading a song, or downloading this. As long as you have the music, by all means get it, you know? But at the same time, you know, you have to realize that it makes it harder for smaller bands to make money doing this, you know? And if you want to be able to do this for the rest of your life, you have to be able to make a living at it, you know? And this is coming from a guy who has a family, all these things that he has to take care of. Luckily, I've been able to balance these things and look at it pragmatically, but at the end of the day, I make music, and as long as people are listening to the music, I'm fine with that.
Without wishing to be too controversial, how do you feel about bands such as Radiohead and 9 Inch Nails who have opted to give away their music on the internet, or to bid for their music? Can you see the side of the argument that would say this is slightly insensitive to smaller bands, or do you think it was a valid message they made?
I think it was valid. I think it's easy for bands who have already made their money to do it, you know? I mean, you come around 20 years later and you're like, music should be free, you know? And you've already made millions of dollars. It's like, oh yeah, well, good for you. You know, some of these guys, you know, they don't have the luxury of doing that, you know? I mean, they either make money doing what they're doing, or they have to get a proper job, and that means limited touring, limited to what you can and can't do with your music, you know, limiting your opportunities to promote your music. You're talking about bands who have already been established, their fan base is set, and they can basically write their own check at that point, you know. They can, well, it was like when Radiohead put the music out and said, pay what you want, you know, you can pay a quarter, you can pay $200 for it. That's easy for someone who's made their money, you know. That's like J.P. Morgan giving away steel after he's already made the money, you know. I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, it's relativity, you know. You can stand on your laurels, you can stand on your beliefs and whatnot, but if you're not risking anything, what's to be said, you know? It would be one thing if it was a smaller band who is completely DIY, you know, they make their own t-shirts, sell their own albums and whatnot. I could see a band like that coming out and going, here's the music for free, and that's setting an example. But when you've already made millions of dollars, you know, it's closing the barn door after the cow's already out. So, you know, it's not hypocrisy, but it's really, really close.